Hannibal Pariaga, and today I am going to discuss one of the topic here in science, technologies, and society subject. And in this video, as promised, I'm going to tackle about antecedents in the ancient period. Okay, so antecedents in the ancient period. Okay, remember that ancient civilization paved the way for advances in our modern advances in science and technology. Okay, and we know that these advances during this ancient period allowed us, okay, to flourish by better finding ways of communication, transportation, okay, which will be the first one that we'll be talking about, and self-organization and our ways of living. Okay, so what we're going to talk now, the first thing, or first antecedent that we are going to talk about is the ancient wheel. Okay, so people from ancient civilization use animals as means of transportation. Okay, that is, wheels could be attached to carts. Okay, and that cart will be attached to animals. So this is the one and first antecedents in ancient world. So that the ancient wheel, so the which gave us the wheels that we're using today. Okay, you can see that in cars and trucks and a lot more. So that is a very important part of the ancient period. So the invention of the ancient wheel is credited to the Sumerians. Okay, the oldest known wheel found in an archaeological excavation is from the Mesopotamia. So this is the one actually that was found and dates to around 3500 BC. Okay, so this is the original wheel that was found from Mesopotamia, actually. So it has been claimed that wheels were first used by potters, okay, the one that creates pots. Okay, let's see this 5,500 old wheel. Okay, so this is actually a potter's wheel, not really a wheel used for transportation, but it was first used. This one is really used for pottery rather than transportation. Actually, the use for wheels for transportation only happened 300 years later. Okay, so actually, the first application of wheels is not really for transport, but it's used for creating pots, for clay, you know. So at least we use that, okay, at least in our transportations. So we know that today the wheel is a very important legacy from the Mesopotamians. Okay, they are almost everywhere, and I think you can vouch for that. Without wheels, we would not be having the rubber tires that we are enjoying now, and cars wouldn't have even been thought of. Of course, because a very essential part of cars are the rubber tires. And wheels is the concept behind that. Everyone would still be walking around, imagine without tires, right? So living in huts, because lots of construction machines would not be able to work because, well, there will be no wheels to bring them from one place to another. Okay, so again, first of our list is the ancient wheel. And as early as 3000 BC, the Egyptians have developed a technique for making paper. Okay, and I think you are familiar with this. You use the papyrus plant from that. Okay, in particular, the plant flourished in the Nile. Okay, by weaving together long strips, they can bind them together, and that will be the one that will create the thin sheets of paper. Actually, the English word for paper came from the word papyrus. And this is the papyrus plant that is along the Nile River. Okay, so this is where the origins of paper started. The Egyptians found the need to create paper due to the fact that, of course, without the paper, imagine them writing on stones. Okay, ancient temples and caves, and we know that it's not easy to write things on stones, on temples, and on caves. So by creating paper, they were able to transcribe messages and publish important documents that could be carried and transported easily, compared to stones again. This was better than learning how to write on potsherds, on stones, on pieces of which would take them years to learn. Okay, instead of writing it on paper. So this is one traditional paper from Egypt that was made from papyrus. Okay, really common term. We shall read this as shadoof. Okay, so the shadoof is a tool and used and invented by the ancient Egyptians still. Okay, so to irrigate land. It is a hand-operated device used for lifting water. So it is a long balancing pole with a weight on one end and a bucket on the other. So the bucket is filled with water and easily raised, then emptied into the higher ground. Its invention introduced the idea of lifting things using counterweight. So this is one example of residue. This one. So we have this on the other end, and we have this weights on the other end. So we have the water here. Okay. So again, this introduced the idea of lifting things using counterweights. So that's again still an entry from the ancient Egyptians. Okay. Next in our list is the Antikythera mechanism. I don't know if I pronounce it right, but that's Antikythera mechanism is the oldest known mechanical calculator. Actually, it is found from the Greek's island of Antikythera. Okay, that's why it's called such. Okay, from a shipwreck. The shipwreck was discovered 2,000 years later in 1900. Okay, the mechanism was recognized in the spring of 1902 as a geared mechanical device displaying calendars and astronomical information. So this is actually the Antikythera mechanism from the museum where of its origin. Okay, wherever it is now. So it's in a museum. So this is the actual Antikythera mechanism, which you can see here clearly. Okay, so the application of modern imaging methods to the surviving fragments has led to the general agreement on the basic structure of the device here. Okay, about its solar and lunar astronomical function. So even though it's way back 2,000 years before 1900, the reading of the remains of its extensive encryptions, or shall we say 1900 around BC, okay, BC. So the reading of the remains of its extension inscriptions has shown that it was also intended to display shifting positions of the planets in the zodiac. Okay, so we can say that this Antikythera mechanism is quite advanced of its time. Okay, because it has even the planets in the zodiac, it has lunar and solar astronomical functions, even though during that time there's no such strong evidence, okay, of such. Okay, of such. So we have this Antikythera mechanism. We also have in our list the aeolipile. I don't know if I pronounce it right. Aeolipile. So Heron Alexandrinus, or or hero of Alexandria, as he was often known, was the first inventor of the steam engine. Okay, a steam powered device that is called aeolipile, or the Heron's engine, or some call it as Hero's engine. Okay, the name came from a Greek word, Aiolos, who was the Greek god of the winds. So this is actually the Aeolipile. Okay, so what happens here is, so an Aeolipile is a sphere that is positioned in such a way that it can rotate around its axis. So this is the axis here. So it will rotate. The nozzles are opposite to each other, but will expel steam, and both of the nozzles will generate combined thrusts, resulting into torque, that is our rotation, causing the sphere to spin around its axis. Okay, so the rotation force speeds up and up the sphere up to the point where the resistance from traction and air brings it to a stable rotational speed, and then that's where the steam engine comes in. Okay, so again, this is a very early example of the steam engine, and it was Heron, okay, or Hero, is the one who invented it. It was until about the 1500s where it was again reused, and then which was the basis for the steam engine. Okay, that was used during those times. Okay, so that's the end for the examples for the antecedents of the ancient period. Again, just a wrap up. We have talked about the ancient wheel. We have talked about the paper from the papers. We have talked about the shadoof. We have talked about the Antikythera mechanism. And also, lastly, the eolifile. Okay, and these are the antecedents from the ancient period. Okay, and then that's the end for this video. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something from here.